And joining me to go through all of the action and key talking points, we have Karen Carney and Darren Bent. We begin with Arsenal at home to Brentford. Your commentators are Matt Upson and Tony Jones.
I think it's absolutely insane that Brentford, in some ways, would like to get away from that, but we like the narrative still sometimes that the bus stop in Hounslow is 10 games unbeaten in the Premier League and is against some decent sides, and I don't have to mention Liverpool, City and Arsenal and so on. That's incredible work from the players and the staff, everyone around the club. So this is a proud moment, and we can enjoy tonight, but the hard work starts tomorrow, and we will do everything we can to continue.
What did you make of the VAR decision? Did you think it was offside?
Well, if we apply what the referees told us every single week before the game when we were out there, that blockers, if you are offside, it will be offside. Doesn't matter the face, then it's offside.
And as you know, without a win in 3 now, so are you concerned about this current run of form at the moment?
Win, but winning is about the small margins. When you are winning, you win by small margins. And those margins as well were taken away. And then it's a draw. But if you cannot win it, don't lose it, that's for sure. And I think the team had still a very strong performance today.
So more drop points for Arsenal. How do you view Arsenal's recent form? I know you're a big Arsenal fan, but how are you feeling about the recent results and how it's all played out?
Yeah, it's not been great. Of course, you want them to bounce back after the Everton result, but today...
Why didn't they bounce back today?
Brentford were brilliant. I think it's as simple as that. I know you can nitpick and say that the offside, we're going to speak, I think, a bit later about some of the decisions, but the fact is Brentford were absolutely brilliant. Probably should have won this game. If you look at the opportunities that Ivan Toney had and Brian and Bramo, they had more than enough opportunities to win this game. So for Arsenal, you'd have to say they've gained a point because they weren't great today. They leave there with a point, but you've got to be better because Manchester City coming up next, it doesn't get much bigger than that.
What do you think, Karen?
I think Darren's right. You have to respect Brentford as well, doing really, really well. And they did bounce back because they lost last week and they got a point this week. And you hopefully then, for Arsenal fans, you're thinking 3 against Man City. But it's tough, like we've spoken about previously. Sometimes in the Premier League, you can't be expected to keep doing that. There will be little moments, but they have bounced back because they've got a point.
Well, we just heard Mikel Arteta say that he was unhappy with the equaliser from Ivan Toney. So let's put that to former Premier League referee Dermot Gallagher. Hello, Derm.
Hi, Seema. How you doing?
Very well, thank you, Derm. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. So tell us, why was the equaliser given?
I think if you look at it, Seema, when the ball comes across the first time, Pinnock's in an offside position, which isn't an offence. It gets played back across. Pinnock then heads the ball to Norgard. This is the free kick. You see here, Pinnock goes over his head. It's not back there. There it's played up in the air. As it comes back here, from Pinnock there, it goes to Norgard as an offside position. Crosses to Toney. I think what the VAR has done is focus so much on this because of what's happening at the bottom of the screen, the holding and such like. You see Pinnock there with Gabriel, I think it is. He's in an offside position, but as I said, that's not an offence. If you roll it on now, that goes above his head, so he doesn't impact on that decision. But where it does impact is here. Pinnock now heads the ball here, and at that point, Norgard's offside. And I feel that what they've done, they've concentrated so much on the original free kick, they've lost sight of that. They haven't watched it in its entirety. Norgard's offside, crosses to Toney, and it should be flagged offside. I can understand the VAR. I can understand the assistant not flagging it offside because it's so tight. But the VAR, if they'd have checked that in its entirety, would have given offside.
Dermot, what about even the start of that move? Because there's obviously the free kick's taken and Zinchenko is clearly being held by Josh Da Silva as Ivan Toney gets round the back and squares it. Did they not even check that as well? Because he's blatantly blocking him off and holding him and not allowing him to mark Ivan Toney.
Yeah, it was checked, Darren, and that's what I say. There was a long check on this, and I think that's what caused the ultimate problem at the end, is that the check was so long for A, is he offside, B, is there a foul, they didn't think it met the threshold, and then it goes on to this point, and it's this point that didn't get checked, unfortunately. It's this point that the offside occurs that impacts directly on Toney scoring, and it's at that point that it should have been intervened. But they didn't follow it through, they didn't follow the process to the end, unfortunately.
You know when you say that there was like multiple incidences that were checked, is it one person that's looking at those, or is it a couple of people? So you take that incident, I'll look at that offside. How does that work?
Well, there's a VAR who's an ex-referee, and there's an AVR, Karen, who's an assistant. Between them, they've got to look at the assistants there to advise on offside. They're discussing, the 3 points. A, is it offside originally? They felt no, and I feel they're correct there. B, is it a foul? They don't feel it meets the threshold. And I think because they've concentrated so long on that incident, it took such a long time, that as it rolls on then, the third incident didn't get checked fully. And that's where the mistake occurred, unfortunately.
So another incident that Brentford were unhappy with, Mbuemo's foul on Gabriel. What did you think of this, first of all, Darren?
I thought he slipped. If I'm honest, I thought he slipped and he went through and he finished it off. But I'm guessing VAR, because he blew the whistle, it was one of them. Yeah, I think he slips. I don't think it's a foul at all. That's my opinion. I think Bryan Mbuemo's used his body, and I think you can quite clearly see that the defender slips. There's a slight nick, like tug, but that's not enough to send him to the floor. So for me, that should have counted.
Well, I just wonder now, a question for you, Dan, because the whistle goes, does that mean that there can't be any involvement from VAR or from the referee?
No, I think the last incident was quite interesting. If you look, he's grabbing hold of his shirt, and that's the view that Peter Banks would have had. If you watch it and you listen to it, you see the whistle goes very, very early. I think it's a very, very low threshold foul. But if you look at where Peter Banks is, that's where Mbuemo grabs hold of the shirt, gets hold of it. And I think that's what Peter Banks sees. He whistles very early. Let's be clear about it. He whistles very, very early. I can understand Brentford being upset, but would that have gone in the net if he hadn't whistled? Who's to know? But once he gives a free kick, the VAR is eliminated.
OK, thanks, Dan, for your input. And don't go anywhere without giving too much away. We will be talking to you a little bit later. OK, we're going to move on. Well, that wraps up your Saturday in the Premier League, but most significantly, this is what it means for the Premier League table. Arsenal missed out on a chance to go 8 points clear at the top. Manchester City do have the chance to close the gap on them tomorrow when they face Villa. Manchester United as well in action tomorrow against Leeds. Newcastle United completing the top form will be delighted that Tottenham dropped points, and so did Brighton, so they still maintain that healthy gap. Fulham were the only team in the top half of the table to win their game today. As for the bottom half, well, you can see it's extremely tight at the bottom, with those bottom 5 teams only separated by 5 points. It's Southampton that are under increasing amounts of pressure. They prop up the table, with Bournemouth and Everton completing that relegation picture as things stand. On that note, it's time for us to say goodbye. A big thank you to Karen, a big thank you to Darren, and it rhymed. Brilliant. 18 goals scored on another action-packed and eventful day in the Premier League, and we will see you tomorrow as we go again for more of the same. See you soon.